Hey, hi everyone, and welcome to the Dropship Masterclass. Thank you for joining us today. And let me introduce my co-host, David. Hi, David.
Hi, everybody.
Hi. Awesome. So today's session is about dropshipping, right? And let us look at a couple of slides here. Okay. So David, you see this graph here, and you see the upward trajectory. And this is a graph taken from Google Trends of the dropshipping topic and the search term. And if you focus on the graph here, then you can see that how the interest in dropshipping has risen by almost 4 times over the last 4 years. So that is an increase of 400%. And there is good reason for that, right? Dropshipping has transformed the way that e-commerce is done. People are using dropshipping as a tool, as a method to quickly scale their business, to reach out to more customers, and to ship products that otherwise would not have been possible for them to do so. And today's session is all about that. So let's jump into dropshipping here. And this is what we are going to cover in today's session. We are going to look at what is dropshipping. We will look at dropshipping versus traditional e-commerce. What are the differences, pros and cons? We will see how you can start a dropshipping business in 7 easy steps. We will talk about the best practices and the mistakes to avoid if you are starting a dropshipping business, or even if you already have one. We'll look at the different shipping options available, including ePackets, which is a shipping method that is super popular in the dropshipping world. And if you're not using it, then you're missing out on delivery times. Then we will look at dropshipping as a strategy for wholesalers. How can wholesalers in general use dropship as a strategy instead of going all in, because they already have a business that they have set up for themselves. And we will look at the financial accounting for dropshipping transaction and how your books and your P&L and your inventory, etc., look like when you are using dropshipping. So over to David to explain to us what is dropshipping.
So, what is dropshipping? Dropshipping is where a customer places an order with you, and then from there you place an order with your vendor. So instead of the vendor sending the goods to you and you would send it off to the customer, the vendor will send directly to the customer himself. So the customer will receive it from the vendor, and you don't actually receive the product at all. It never touches your warehouse. So it saves a lot of time and inventory pay, as you can say. I mean, you don't have to have a warehouse or anything. So the customer sends to you, for example, customer buys a watch, so he orders a watch from you. You place the order for the watch to the vendor, and the vendor sends it directly to the customer. It's pretty straightforward.
All right. Awesome. So, yeah, conceptually, dropshipping is straightforward, as David mentioned. And it is not just an online business model, but it is also an order fulfillment method. In fact, at its core, dropshipping is an order fulfillment method, and you can build an online business around it, right? So, it sounds easy, right? But there are things that you ought to be aware of, unless you want, which if you are not careful of or not cognizant of, you can see your dropship business not do as well as you would want it to. And that is what we are going to cover in today's class. Now, let us look at the difference between dropshipping and traditional e-commerce. So for dropshipping, why is dropshipping gaining so much popularity? What is the reason why people are choosing to go with dropshipping instead of going with the traditional e-commerce route or the traditional, wholesale trading route, etc.? And the reason, foremost reason, is minimal upfront cost. You don't need to invest a lot of money to start a dropshipping business. Why? Because you don't need a warehouse. You don't need to worry about packing and shipping logistics. You can do with absolutely no hiring at all. You can run an entire dropshipping business on your own. There are no overheads. and it is super easy to scale as long as you have got your basics right and you have the right product and the audience in place. So essentially what is happening is that you are reducing the risk that you take when you start a new business, and because your investments are not that high, even if you take a wrong call, it is very easy to learn from that and quickly use those learnings to create even a better business. And that is the essence, why people who want to start a new business go for drop shipping more than traditional e-commerce. I mean, just imagine, right? If there was no drop shipping, then you would need to first get the orders shipped to your place. Then you need to, I mean, obviously that shipping would mean that, there are going to be associated inventory costs. And we have covered that in our previous webinar, the inventory masterclass. So if you have not gone through that, then please do, right? But there are so many inventory costs associated, and reducing those inventory costs or managing those inventory costs is a full-time job in itself. You depending on the scale of your business, you may need either a small room in your house, or maybe a storage unit, or a full warehouse. And all of those come with its own they all come with their own pain points, and that is what we are trying to solve here by using drop shipping. David, what are your thoughts?
Oh yeah, I mean, I agree. Plus, you also take the risk of the inventory. You have to store it in a location. If anything happens to the inventory because of any incident, maybe force majeure, act of God, then all of a sudden you lose it. That inventory is a cost on you. I mean, you could be putting that money somewhere else, and if they don't actually use it if they don't buy it very quickly, or you bought a product that was not correct, then you're stuck with it. So it becomes even more of a burden. And then how do you get rid of that stock? So it becomes quite painful. And as you mentioned, labor cost. If the product is bulky, it's a big product, then I can't store it in my garage, and I have to store it in a warehouse, and then I have to have employees moving it. I have to make sure they have their salary. Then I have to look at all the statutory compliance for that employee and make sure he gets paid correctly. And then I file all the stuff to the correct government agency, or I'll get fined. It just increases the headache more and more on that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Drop shipping, I mean, that's why we saw that upward curve, showing the super fast growing interest in drop shipping in the last few years. And the next topic that we are going to talk about is how to start a drop shipping business, right? Now, David, if you have to start a drop shipping business, let's say that you want to start a drop shipping business, right? How would you go about it? Don't look at the slides. I'm going to remove the slide. Just tell me how do you think you would go ahead and start a drop shipping business?
Well, first I have to figure out what product I want to sell, because that's the business. So figure out what product I want to sell, then figure out who I'm going to buy it from. It's a drop ship. I'm not producing it on my own. So I got to figure out who my supplier is, find out the lead time. Probably have to create a landing page, or some place to show my goods. So I have to find maybe an e-commerce site or some location like that. Make sure all the products look good on my screen and all that, and find out what the lead time is. Make sure the lead time makes sense. And then after that, start setting it up, advertising it. I probably don't want a huge amount of products either. Just maybe 5 or 10 products. That way I can make sure the pages look nice, everything looks good. Whereas if I had 200 or 300 products, there's so many chances I screw up everything and it doesn't look correct, and then it looks unprofessional and no one wants to buy from me anymore. So I think that's what I would do.
Right. Yeah. I mean, pretty close to how to go about it. So there are a few things that you would want to be aware of, right? Now, when it comes to drop shipping, right, it's all about choosing the product, as David mentioned earlier, right? I mean, he will spend a lot of time in researching for the product, but it's important to understand what kind of products work for drop shipping and which ones don't, right? David, if you're picking a product for drop shipping, what kind of a product do you think you should pick?
Well, I think I'd probably try to pick something simple, like a coffee cup, or T-shirts, clothes, shoes, stuff like that. I think if it gets too bulky, then becomes quite difficult. For example, I wouldn't go online and start selling cars from dropship methodology. I think that'd be quite difficult, finding a dealer, finding the company, and then trying to send one car off here, one car off there would be very difficult. So yeah, I would think simple items, something easily purchased, something where I can easily go and get it done, and people that are used to dealing with different quantities with lots of people. So that would be my idea.
All right. Now, to understand what kind of products and to understand the methodology behind starting and running a successful dropshipping business, let's think about how you make profit on in dropshipping, right? So, you identify your niche or niche products or the products that you want to sell. Then you decide who your audience is going to be, to whom you're going to target to sell those products. Because if you try to sell to everyone, it's not gonna the marketing cost and the outreach cost can be huge, right? And that will cut into your margins. Obviously you don't want to sell products that are already being sold by a lot of people, or are or have a very high brand value associated with them, because you will be outbid, or outpriced, or even outmarketed there. Correct. And once you have done that, the most important thing would be to find a supplier that that can provide you the goods in the quantities that you require, is willing to drop ship, and is reliable enough for you to make sure that your customers get the right product on time, free of defects, etc. Plus they have to be priced right. And when we talk about the pricing, we are talking about your cost of goods sold, not just the purchase price. And that would include your shipping cost, and packing cost, and all the different kind of costs, etc., that would be associated with delivering the product to your customer. And once you have these basics in place, that is when you can start building your e-commerce store, your website. And then once you have your product listing pages and everything, then you want to build landing pages and sales funnels that will guide the customer from an early interest to action, to actually buy your product, and hopefully potentially even buy more associated products, so that you have an opportunity to cross sell or upsell. And once you have all these things in place is when you start your marketing effort. You don't want to start your marketing effort before that, because you may end up losing out on valuable traffic, and that will cut into your margins. And that is why we are doing dropshipping business in the first place, because we can make amazing margins with dropshipping. In fact, the average studies show that the average margin that you can get on dropshipping is could be as high as 40% on the right product. And that's a big margin that you can make just by identifying the right supplier and the right target audience, and then creating your sales funnel the right way. And all of this starts with identifying the right product. So how do we identify the right product? All right. Now, there are a few criteria that immediately come to mind. One is that it's a product that a lot of people use, but that would be a bad choice for dropshipping generally. Why do you think that is, David?
Well, I'm assuming if it's commonly used, then there's already a lot of people in that market already and selling it. And probably it's overwhelmed already, so the margin or your profit margin would already be very low in that aspect as well. So you're not going to make lots of money, or you have a lot of competition, and it's probably everywhere. So that's what I think anyways. Not sure.
Yeah, absolutely right. So everybody uses soap or toothbrushes, right? But you don't want to get into drop shipping for toothbrushes and soaps. There are maybe a couple of cases where you might want to do that, but and we will talk about that. But generally, you don't want to get into mass consumed goods, because if there is a lot of demand for it, chances is that there is a lot of supply already in the market. And that is where your competitor research comes into play. You don't want to get into a market which is already saturated. What you want to do is identify a niche for a particular category of products, and then build your drop shipping business on that. So let me take an example. So for example, toothbrush, right? I mean, we just said that it's not a good product, or soap is not a good product. Similarly, maybe towels may not be a good product, or but if you can get a niche category within these top within these broad categories. Say for example, uh, a toothbrush that is branded with Demon Slayer, which is one of the most popular animes right now, right? Kids might, would probably love that. There is a lot of branded merchandise that you can get at a great margin from different suppliers across the world, right? What if you could get some kind of Star Wars branded merchandise? Or I mean, I'm just giving an example, right? I mean, there are obviously, I do not advise you to go and buy fake products, correct? But yeah, I mean, if you could get merchandise that addresses a particular audience, right, which has got enough following, so enough people should be interested in buying it, but it is not something that is being mass produced. So anytime you go into Amazon, or Shopee or Lazada or Flipkart, you don't see that product right there, because if that is already there, then um, chances are that there are many people who are already selling that product, and you will have to cut down on your profit margins, and essentially you will get into a price war, which you don't want to do in drop shipping. You want to create a niche here. All right, so one way of creating that niche is that if a particular product is selling well, and you can find an associated category that is in high demand. So for example, let's say glass frames, right? I mean, uh, uh, if I mean, you can put branding on the sides here, right? I mean, you could have anime branded, or comic branded glass frames available. Kids would love those, for example, right? Even adults for that matter, correct? And they are not that easily available. I mean, if you walk into a shop or a department store, you don't find that off the shelf. But it is something that has got a following. The following is not for the glass frame, but it is for the uniqueness that you are providing to that product by having that branding there. And there are manufacturers that are building these things. It's just that we don't know about it. And once you know about it, then you can make a killing of the profit margins here. However, you want to be sure that whatever niche that you have identified is actually is actually worth going after. All right. So how do you determine that? Okay, the niche that you have identified. Let's say that I want to do some bleach branded, or one piece branded t-shirts, right? Then how do I know that, okay, one piece is something that a lot of people follow? Because hey, maybe I like one piece, but maybe not a lot of people like one piece. By the way, David, do you know what one piece is?
It's an animated series or a manga or a comic, something like that, if I remember correctly.
Yes, it's big in Japan. It's actually like the most popular anime series in the world, and it has been running for, I think, 17 years. So that's what I mean, that's like part of my retirement plan. That once I retire, then I'll watch One Piece. So it will take at least like 20 years of my life to go through that entire thing. But yeah, I mean, that's just an example, One Piece. But there are many niche mangas, for example, that have a huge following, even across the world, but their branded products are not so easily available. And if you could identify the suppliers who do that, then you will have a following for that. But obviously, how do you validate this theory, correct? And that is where all these tools come into the play. So you have got Google Trends, which tell you how a particular topic or a search term is trending. So if a lot of people are, let's say, searching for One Piece, right? Then you will see the trend in Google going up. Or if there is something new that has come, for example, there is maybe a new music video that has come into the market, and people are searching for that online, then you can easily create lookalike audiences, etc., and target those audiences as well, right? And that is where all these tools will come into the play. Keyword research, Google Trends, Facebook audiences, all of these are free tools. You just need your account to be set up. You can go in and you can start using them to look at data, to validate your theory. So once you have thought of maybe 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 different niches or ways that you can create a niche product, right? Then you go and validate that by doing a trend search and finding out as to how that particular topic is trending, if people are actually searching for it, or if there is enough traffic for it in the area that you're looking for, or is there enough traffic from the audience that you are looking for, correct? In addition to that, right, uh, you um, you can go to Amazon bestsellers. You can check Amazon bestsellers for what are the products that are selling the most, and then you can take those products and you can map it with the niche that you have identified. For this example, like, I mean, a name branded stuff, right? And then you mix the two and you have your product ready. And this same logic can be extended to multiple things, right? Maybe there is a new K-pop group, that's out and it's super popular, and you can get some branding done for your products on that and start doing drop shipping for that. So I mean, it's open to how creative you can be and how imaginative you can be with with the products that you can think of. And there are suppliers who are doing it. I mean, it's just a question of finding them, and we will cover that later on here as well. Also, when you are looking at products, right, then you want to look at the upsell and cross sell opportunities that the product present. So things that are consumed are generally considered better because they create recurring customers. Because once a customer buys a consumable product from you, right, they are going to come back to you to buy it again because it's already there, at the back of their head. And as long as you're competitive and they had a good experience in the first place, they will come back to you, correct? And that will give you repeat sales. Plus you can build accessories and associated products along that line. So for example, if somebody buys an Aneem branded t-shirt, then you can also have Aneem branded matching gloves, or a cap, right? I mean, there are possibilities there that you can explore and validate them, of course, first through the different tools that we have at our disposal, and then go ahead and identify and pick that product. David, what do you think?
Oh yeah, I agree. It's important to pick the correct product, and it should be niche. But I don't, and based upon what people are trending now and they like, I guess. And I guess it shouldn't be too niche, like a toothbrush for a boa constrictor. No one's going to buy it or get it, so, or very few. So yeah, you have to select the right product. So 100% agree.
All right, awesome. So let's take a look at some of the trending categories in 2021. This data is from Alibaba and Oberlo. So these are some of the trending categories for dropshipping in 2021. So you have PPE, you have sleep aids, gaming accessories, smartwatches, fitness gears, furniture, home decor, correct? Um, David, do you see a trend here?
It looks like life after COVID. Personal protective equipment, then all of a sudden being at home all the time with the kids, sleeping aid, gaming accessories to keep you sane. After a while, you eat all that food and never move. All of a sudden, smartwatches and fitness trackers, fitness gear to get exercise. And that wonderful chair you sit in all day to work, you decide that that may not be the most comfortable chair. Then you got furniture and home decor. So I'm just thinking maybe a little uptick from COVID.
Absolutely, yeah. So drop shipping trends tend to change with the the society that we, I mean, they are dependent on the people who are buying the product, and their needs are basically what is going to drive what ought to be sold to them in the first place. And yeah, you are absolutely right. I mean, all of this is primarily driven by COVID and the multiple lockdowns that all of us have seen in the last couple of years. And obviously, I mean, because people are staying more at home, they are there has been an uptick in furniture and home decor and gaming accessories, and yes, sleeping aids. And I mean, there is a lot of stress that people have at times. I mean, especially if you're cooped up, and or if you're in lockdown for a long time. And fitness gear, that includes yoga mats and all of these things are on a rise right now. So these are some of the trending categories that you can pick, and you can I mean, once you have the category in, you obviously need to identify the niche, then validate that niche using the tools that we have shared earlier. Yes, David.
Oh, I was just thinking, you're talking about the niche and everything, and I see PPE. One of the things that my daughter would not wear a mask. She hated the mask. But then we found the mask with bunnies on it, masks with dogs on it, with different types of colors. All of she's like, oh, I want that one. Oh, I want this one. And of course, we ordered from an e-commerce site, and very well it could have been a dropship company for all we knew. And she received the mask and she started wearing it. So I was thinking, you're mentioning PPE and then talking about niches. I was thinking about that earlier on.
Yeah, I mean, you have hit the nail on the head here, David, because that is exactly what dropshipping's essence is all about, right? You don't try to compete with what is out there. You create your own niche, and you validate it, and then you look at what is trending, and then you combine the two and create your unique product, your unique offering, and then you can build your brand around it. Okay. So yeah, I mean, this slide will be available for download later, so you can so you will have access to all of this. Now, the next thing that we come to is identifying the target audience and doing competitor research. All right. Now, what are the things that we want to identify? I mean, how do we identify the target audience? David, how would you identify your target audiences?
Well, I would look at who's actually going to buy it. Like I was mentioning the mask with all the dogs and kittens, that'd be for kids for sure. But if you're talking about One Piece and all this, maybe teenagers, kids, and maybe some adults too, based upon the requirements. So you have to look. And who knows, it depends on the items. Some items may not be suitable based upon certain people's age, based upon certain types of where they're thinking about the product and all that. So you have to target correctly. I'm just trying to think of another type of products, t-shirts, of course, with different types of pictures on. I always remember that Star Wars pictures and all that and geekathons and all that. But yeah, so stuff like that. You have to figure out who's going to buy it.
Absolutely. So interesting thing that you mentioned here, that masks, I mean, those bunny masks, for example, are for kids. But you have to remember that kids are not the ones who are purchasing the product. So your target audience is not kids. Kids are the users or the consumers of the product, but the actual buyer are the parents, right? So you, you have to always have that clarity, right? And you have to identify your audience based on that, because if you identify the wrong audience, then you will never reach them actually. Correct. I mean, another example is so for example, if I create, or if I build, let's say, a Mac which is branded, uh, or some kind of a PC or a laptop or some expensive device that has got cartoon characters on it, like Doraemon, etc., whatever that kids watch, right? That is not going to be the right uh, product for your target audience, because your target audience in this case probably are going to be your consumers are going to be early teens, etc., or maybe young folks, and they probably would not have that much money of line to just throw away or just spend on what is essentially an impulse buy. Correct. So you want to understand the purchasing power of your target audience, what are their spending habits, and all of this will help you in shaping and tailoring your marketing efforts eventually. But this has also to tie in with your product identification, that for the product that you have identified, right? Because you see, so far we have not even launched the website. We are still in the research phase, and we are determining whether the product and the niche and the category that we have picked up earlier is the right category or the niche to go with. And all of this has to align. So we have looked at the product part, then we looked at then we look at who your audience is going to be, where are they are going to be located, and that's going to be important. Actually, the location is going to be important, right? So for example, you won't be able to sell drop shipped tobacco to US because you cannot advertise it, correct? It's not possible, it's banned, correct? So yeah, I mean, so the location, the gender, their spending habits, what age group they are in, correct? Those are the things that you have to look at. And traditionally impulse buys and impulse purchases are what drive drop shipping. So having this data or having this information with you is super important. The good thing is that you can get all of this information from your Facebook audiences easily, right? I mean, it will give you all the demographic details, etc. Facebook keeps all our data, we already know that. Uh, so obviously you cannot get individual data, which is good, but yeah, you can get aggregate information about your audiences, what are their likes, what are their dislikes, which communities they are a part of, and that will all help you to align your product, your audience, and your marketing effort later on. Then I go into competitor research. So I don't want to be selling something which already has a huge brand following, right? Or where already an established player is in the market. But how do I determine whether there is already an established player in the market or not? One simple way is to go ahead and do a Google search, and then you will see top listed sites for that particular product being shown there. And then you can visit the individual sites on which that product is being sold. Obviously, you don't want to be doing drop shipping for products that are already on Amazon, right? Or are being sold by 100 other people on Amazon, right? Uh, what you want to do is look for products that are being that have a few competitors, obviously, and then you want to look at the strength of those competitors. And easy way to determine the strength of competitors is by looking at the number of backlinks and their domain authority. The backlinks is basically how many people link back to that person's website or that person's landing page, uh, and it is a measure of how popular they are. If they have, let's say, thousands of backlinks, right, then you know that you are in for a tough fight. But if they have maybe 10 backlinks, then you know that okay, you can easily append them, or climb over them in the rankings on Google, and you can create your authority in that particular space. So obviously, I mean, the suggested idea would always be to go for areas where you do not have very high authority or strong competitors. But if you do have to, then you need to align your marketing strategy and your campaigns around that, and you have to be willing to put aside a major portion of your expenditure for marketing efforts alone. Then obviously you would do competitor research for pricing and what kind of customer reviews they are getting, right? David, when you buy something, do you look at reviews and the pricing? I mean, what are the things that you compare your product on before you decide, okay, this is the vendor from where I want to buy my item?
Definitely want to look at, well, first read about the product, see the reviews, and also see the price. For example, when I was looking for an iPhone cover for my phone, I was looking for something strong that won't break or easily, and then I found a webpage that said industrial grade, can survive anything type stuff, and then I have to actually then I reread the reviews. Is it real? Is it fake? Are people saying that this is breaking all the time? And finally, I checked the price. It's great to have a very strong case, but if it's going to cost more than the iPhone, what's the purpose of it? So those were the three things. You should look for my product, then after it, looked at the reviews, made sure it actually does what it says it does. And I tend to skip like the reviews that are so, perfect. You know what I mean? This is the greatest product in the world. Everything is wonderful. So I ignore those and just go down and look for the other reviews. And I tend to also not look at the very, very, very obvious reviews that the guy absolutely hates them for every reason and fiber in their body. And then, of course, I go and then look at the price, make sure it's affordable. And also, I look if there's any deals. If there's a deal upcoming, I'll be like, okay, maybe I'll hold out for a bit. Like Black Friday deals, almost Black Friday, so I'll wait for that. Stuff like that.
Right. So these are all the things that you would want to look at when you're doing competitor research. What kind of deals they have. You can build a campaign around reviews, or you can build your marketing message around the reviews that are being left. Right. I mean, what are the things that people who are actually buying the product say is the best for them? Right. Look at those reviews and then use that to your advantage. If somebody has got a high authority but they have got bad reviews, for example, in the market, then that is a niche or an area that you can attack quite successfully, because their customers are not happy, right? So we have looked at identifying the products. We have looked at how to identify or create your target audience and how to understand their habits. We have looked at the importance of competitor research. Now let's move to the next point, which is picking the right supplier. So, David, what do you think should be the criteria for picking a reliable supplier? How would you go ahead and pick a supplier for your dropship business?
Well, I would check the size of the supplier, see how big they are, and see if they are mass producing a large amount or not mass producing a large amount, meaning how good they are. If I'm buying shirts, for example, and I'm having a special design, and this is a manufacturer that prints shirts with that logo on it. Do they have a large audience? Maybe not in my niche, but in other niches around there. And see their reviews, their reliability, make sure that they get, good reviews saying that they're reliable, they deliver on time. Because you don't want to have a vendor and then do dropship process, because remember, it doesn't go into your warehouse. You have no control over its delivery to the customer. The vendor's delivering to the customer. So you want to make sure that their lead time, their delivery is very, very good, because after they deliver, then the customer's not going to be angry at the vendor. They're going to be angry at you. So you have to make sure that all works out well.
Correct. So a common strategy that is used by successful dropshippers is to start off with one of these sites that you have here. Obviously, you'll have to do some research to identify whether they have the right suppliers for your category of products or not, correct? But most of these sites that we have listed here, these are some of the top dropshipping suppliers in the world, and they have big databases of people who are manufacturing niche products that you probably don't even know exist, but fall into the category that you had selected for yourself. And you can go and search the database, you can contact them. AliExpress, it has got 100 million products listed, right? I mean, that's a big number, correct? I mean, you think of something and chances are that AliExpress probably has it. Same goes with CJ Dropshipping. Oberlo is where all the suppliers directories are available, correct? And if you look at this slide, the ones with a coin next to them are the ones where you have to pay. The rest are all free. So you can start off with one of the free drop shipping suppliers, and then as you go for more niche items, or if you're looking for some very specific items, then you can decide and pick to go for the suppliers who have a fee associated with them. Some of these fees are monthly subscription fees. Some of them are one-time fees. I mean, it depends on the site, on the organization here, but the costs are not very high, thankfully. I mean, these fees start from as low as $7 a month, and there are even lifetime access options available for $35 and $40 as well. So again, I mean, you will not be spending a lot of amount, but you will have access to millions of products being built worldwide and uh, available to you to ship to the right person, right? And once you have your drop shipping suppliers in place, right, then you can start talking about launching your online store, your landing pages and funnels, and start your marketing effort. Okay. Now, before we go into the process of launching the store and funnels and marketing, right, let's try to understand who a dropshipper is. If you are a dropshipper, what is your main role? What is your main function in this, right? David, based on whatever that we have discussed so far, what do you think a dropshipper is essentially?
He more or less, what's it called? Sells a product to a customer. So he has a web page, he sells it to a customer, and then his job would be to make sure more people come visit his site, buy the products, and all that. Then it's just placing the orders with the vendor, and the vendor goes off and sends it to the customer. I'm not sure how great the sites are. Maybe some of the sites can even automate the dropship process so they can place the orders directly. But the key thing, make sure your website's good, looks good, customer comes in, buys the products, and then you, place the order with the vendor, and you're pretty much done. The vendor takes care of the rest.
Yeah. So essentially, right, as a dropshipper, what you are doing is uh, you are identifying a gap that exists in the current supply demand, and you are identifying people who will pay money to address those needs, those gaps, and you are identifying the suppliers who can fill that gap, and you're kind of bringing them together by being the conduit between the two, right? So you are helping people fulfill a real problem that they are facing by identifying the right supplier, even though that particular group is not so big that somebody like Unilever would go and start building products for them, but they have a problem and that problem needs to be addressed, and you're helping them solve their problem, right, by linking them with the supplier, correct, through you. So you are essentially solving problems for people who are out there, and that is in essence what dropshipping is about, and that is at the core of a successful dropshipping business. Is your product, is your dropshipping business solving a problem, correct? um, let's take an example of exercise gear or bikers, for example, right? Bikers who go on mountain biking, or who like to ride for long distances, etc. The standard products that they would get from a shop or a store, or a mega mart, etc., right, may come in different varieties, but and we have one of the bikers here uh, in this webinar. Even though you cannot see him, he's the layout guy, Sumesh, that we saw yesterday, right? He is willing to pay a lot of money for lightweight equipment because that makes his journeys a lot smoother, correct? And getting that lightweight equipment may not be possible because there are not millions of people who are willing to buy that. So big companies are not spending that effort in creating that product, but there will be tens of thousands of people who are willing to purchase that product because they are enthusiasts, they are passionate about what they are doing, right? And that is one of the key things that you are doing here. You are helping people fulfill their passions about stuff, correct? And helping them achieve what they really want to do with what they are doing, what they're passionate about. And that's a great thing, right? And that is what the essence of drop shipping is, and that is what you're doing as a drop shipper. And that is how you have to do your online store, your landing page, your sales funnel, and your marketing. You have to build it around the passion or the problem that people want to solve. If you do that successfully in the right way, then what you have is a killer dropship business, because you have the right product that people are willing to pay for, and there are enough number of people who are willing to pay for it, right? And you have the right messaging to bring that product in front of them and tell them exactly how this solves their problem. Plus, it gives you an opportunity to do a lot of cross selling, upselling, and building loyal customers and building your brand over a period of time. And that is only going to happen if you align all these steps together. Okay. Now, so let's talk about the individual steps here, right? So, launching an online store, you can get your online store up and running in as less as $9 a month now, right? I mean, that's all you need to have a functioning online store. And you can do it on Shopify, or you can use WordPress or WooCommerce, Wix, BigCommerce. You can do that on Deskera. We have an e-commerce builder, which kind of integrates with all the accounting and inventory and everything. So you even get more value out of building your e-commerce site using Deskera. And yes, you can use Amazon for dropshipping, but there are caveats. So, for example, if you are using Amazon for dropshipping, right, then one, you have to be very careful about which suppliers you use, because Amazon is really strict, right? Plus, your margin automatically drops. So, for example, if you are selling in the US through Amazon via dropshipping, and you're making a margin of 30% without Amazon, then with Amazon, you're going to end up losing 22.5% of that, which is like 15% is what Amazon will just, take off the top. And then you will have your sales tax and other things, that can take up to 8 or 8.5%, right? So you are essentially losing out all the benefit of drop shipping by making a margin of only 3-4% there, which you don't want to do. So Amazon, while I mean, again, if there is a very high demand and it's a high volume game and you're comfortable with the drop shipping part of that, then you can think about it, right? Or if you just want to get more people onto to buy your product and get some early feedback, then that's a good option. But generally, I mean, Amazon is not considered the best for drop shipping, but you can do it theoretically. All right. Now, once you have your online store up and running, and obviously there are good practices that you have to follow to have your online store up and running, and we have covered that in our previous webinar on e-commerce best practices. So if you haven't watched it, please go ahead and watch it later. We'll leave the link in the description below. Okay. Now, once you have your online store and your e-commerce store functioning, then you move to landing pages and funnels. All right. Now, what's the difference between landing pages and funnels? I mean, David, when you hear the term landing pages and funnels, what comes to your mind, and what do you think is the difference between the two?
So when I think of landing page, it's where you'll land after you search for an item, and then the web pages will come up and you click on it and you'll land into that web page, maybe where your product is. And funnels, I think of it like a funnel, like water pouring down a funnel. You go right on down the rabbit hole, and it's bringing you closer to make the sales or the purchase itself. So, for example, you go and you look for a phone, and then they show you, or cases, and then you look at the cases, and then you click on the case, then you select the quantity, you purchase it, then it takes you to a payment place, and then you input your credit card to make payment. It's like leading a water to a trough to drink, more or less, leading you to the payment so you can make your payment and get paid. At least that's what I think.
Right. So, yes, David, that's right. So landing pages are where you would want your audience, your prospect to land on, and that is like the first thing that they will see. This could be your product listing page, right? This could be a simple landing page where you're talking about the details of the product with a buy now button, etc. Right? So these landing pages have to be conversion oriented, right? You don't want to talk about anything or speak about anything that doesn't help you with the conversion part. Only thing that you are trying to get the person to do there is to click on that button, which is to buy or whatever that CTA is going to be, correct? And funnel is basically the methodology that you should follow to help to slowly guide people to higher value or bigger ticket items in your product portfolio. So let's take an example. Okay, how I would set a landing page and a funnel for, let's say, biking gear. All right. So in when I'm talking about biking gear, maybe I have a couple of lightweight gloves that, or non-sweaty and airy gloves that I can use when I am biking for long distances, and I sell these items at a heavy discount. And my landing page is basically where I'm getting all the people to come and look for. Everybody who's coming to my landing page is coming there by virtue of whatever marketing promotion or ad or campaign that I'm running for those gloves, which are not a very expensive item. People will go ahead and impulse buy them, or they will just go ahead and buy them because they are a low ticket item, so you don't have to think too much, right? Before buying anything. If it's maybe a couple of dollars or a few dollars, right, then you don't have to think too much, right? You don't have to go back and explain it to the wife that, hey, I bought this. So so uh, so that is the thing, right? I mean, so you start with something of this kind, and then once they purchase it, you can even make the offer more attractive by giving a discount, 50% discount, 25% discount, or a free option along with that. And once they go ahead and purchase that, that is when you transfer them to the confirmation page, right? I mean, and that confirmation page is where you can start showing them stuff that can be clubbed with that particular item. So when somebody bought a glove, now you can show them a biking helmet, a lightweight biking helmet, or a branded biking helmet, which has got Naruto on top, you know and that is how you start building your funnel. So you show them the helmet, then you have to obviously keep track of people who are clicking on that and buying it or not buying it, and those are some of the best practices that we will talk about later. But that's how you're building a funnel. You're taking people from a smaller, low effort or low barrier to purchase offer to a higher ticket offer or a higher value item. And that is how you build your funnel and gradually get people to make decisions to buy more. And that is where the funnel strategy comes into play. And then at each stage of the funnel, you want to view who was there, how many dropped off, how many went through to the next stage, can you change the messaging, etc. But the important thing is that every single page should focus on one and one thing only, which is making them click on that CTA and purchasing the item that you're looking for. And that's what conversion oriented pages will do for you. So that is how you can combine landing pages and funnels. And we will be doing a webinar on the best practices for creating landing pages and funnels very soon in the future. So if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please like and subscribe so that you get the updates when we go live with that. All right. And there is some more interesting news that we are incorporating landing pages and funnels in Deskera CRM as well. So if you have your online store set on Deskera, and you also get you will also have access to the landing pages and funnel builder within Deskera. So it is all an integrated, smooth flow. So you can set up your store, you can create your landing pages, you can create your funnels, you can run marketing campaigns from behind, from inside Deskera, email campaigns, etc. And then get all the money directly into your bank through Deskera as well. So there is a lot of exciting stuff that is happening, and we will be sharing that with you in the coming webinars and videos as well. So make sure that you subscribe to the channel to get the updates in real time. Now you have your store, you have your landing pages, you have your funnels. It's time to actually get into the thick of things and start reaching out to all those audiences that you have identified earlier with the products that you have selected to sell, right? And how do we do that? Uh, you want to use Facebook ads, you want to use display ads, you want to use discovery ads. Now, what are these? Uh, so, before I go into this, David, do you see any omission from this list?
Facebook ads, display ads, discovery ads, email campaigns. Google ads?
Right. Google search ads. So display ads and discovery ads are Google ads also, but you don't want to go with Google search ads, at least initially, uh, because search ads can be very, very expensive. Obviously, if you have done your research and you feel that the outlay is I mean, if the cost, if the CPC or the cost per click justifies the outlay on search ads, then go ahead and do that, because search ads have the best conversion rate. But it is also true that they are they are super expensive, and because you're going for really niche products that in most cases people don't even know exist, right? When they're searching, so let's say that I'm searching for one piece on Google, and I see an ad there, correct? I may end up clicking on it, but my intent to buy is really low at that point of time, because I was probably searching for one piece. I wanted to look at the manga or the anime, right? And not really looking to buy the product then and there, correct? Plus, Google search ads don't have images, so it's very hard to attract that user to do the impulse buy, correct? Whereas display ads, discovery ads, and Facebook ads have images, right? Plus, there is Google shopping ads that you can use actually, but those shopping ads will come in. I mean, you have to do a lot of keyword research to make them appear for the right keywords. And again, if it's a niche category for a niche product, then it is possible that people are not actively searching for that, but you're creating a demand for that by bringing it in front of them as an impulse buy, correct? So Facebook ads, display ads, and discovery ads work the best. Display and discovery are the ads that you see on, I mean, when you're on a website and you immediately see pop-ups coming at the bottom, or banners, or when you're playing a YouTube video and there is an ad in the beginning. These are all serviced through display and discovery, and we all know Facebook ads. We keep getting them every time we are browsing Facebook. And the good part is that all three of these ads or categories, I mean, all three ad types can be tailored for audiences, right? You can target a very specific audience uh, and very specific demographics with these three kind of ads. It's a lot easier, they are a lot cheaper than search, and the cost is based on clicks, obviously. So you only get, I mean, you only have to pay when somebody clicks on it, right? And that's a big advantage that you want to use. And you can use look-alike audiences to create the audiences for your campaigns. So what is a look-alike audience? A look-alike audience is you can create rules. For example, everybody who goes to the One Piece web page, right? You can create look-alike audiences to people who visit One Piece web page, and that will allow you to target a similar demography, at a fraction of the cost that you would otherwise have to spend to reach out to them. And again, how to run ads and how to create successful ads for your business is a topic that we will talk about in greater detail in our future videos and webinars. So once again, please subscribe if you want to learn more about this. And actually, you know what, David, I think it would be a good idea if you can leave your if you could leave in your comments as to which of the topics maybe you would like to see in our next webinar, or one of the next webinars within this week, right? I mean, which one would you prefer to watch first? Do you want to watch a webinar on landing pages, on sales funnels, or on building Google ads, or on content marketing or retargeting marketing, etc.? Just leave it in the comments, and we will go ahead and prioritize them according to what you have to say or what you are looking for. So once you have your ads in, right? I mean, that's paid marketing, right? You also want to start running an email campaign, correct? Now email campaigns are going to be super useful for helping you reach out to existing customers, as well as people who have shown an intent to buy from you but you have lost them, correct? As long as you were able to capture their email in one of the earlier steps in your funnel, correct? So this, I mean, email campaigns is one of the most ROI effective methods of running marketing campaigns. And we did a pretty comprehensive webinar on all the best practices and the statistics that back that up. So if you have not seen that, it is on our YouTube channel. Go ahead and have a look. Then once you have your marketing promotions and campaigns in place, which are like kind of short term or immediate result oriented, you also would want to spend some time in content marketing, especially if you want to build a brand and you want to be a long term player, for that particular niche, for that particular product, correct? So what is content marketing? Content marketing is essentially creating content that is associated with the product and the services that you are uh, selling, and then using that to reach out to your audience, giving them something of value. And in return, there are a few things that you are getting them to do. You are building your brand value, you are building your authority for that particular domain, and you are keeping an engaged audience who know about your brand and who will think of you first when they think about that product or that particular category, correct? And once you have your content marketing in place, right? I mean, obviously content marketing is not just creating content, it is about distribution just as well. So once you have your content, make sure you have your Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube and Insta and everything in place, where you are pushing out the content regularly to keep audiences engaged on multiple platforms and also acquire more engagement. So over a period of time, and this is a long term process, let's be very clear about it. It's not something that will happen overnight, that you create a content, and I mean, sometimes it will go viral, yes, but chances are that it won't go viral. I mean, that's the law of averages, right? So um, so as long as you are consistent in creating content and distributing it across multiple channels, and these include Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok. Yeah, I mean, TikTok is super popular with dropshippers right now because you can make very short product videos and put them out on TikTok, and they have seen high engagement rates as well, right? So once you have these in place, then over a period of time, you are building your customer base, your brand awareness, which is going to help you a lot in the long run. So when you have all of this in place, then you are going to drive traffic to your landing pages, to your sales funnels, etc. Now, obviously, some of these folks that uh, land on your page are not going to buy your products, right? Then what do you do about it? You start with retargeting campaigns, and retargeting campaigns is basically making sure that you have a pixel to track that they visited, and then you can retarget that particular audience category, to keep telling them about more benefits and value props that you can share about the item, or just to keep your brand or your product in visibility, right? In their view, so that they don't forget about you, and eventually they end up coming back. This is a strategy that Amazon uses super successfully, right? I mean, if you go to an Amazon page and you click on a product and then you exit out of it, Amazon will keep showing you those ads for the next 20 years. I mean, it, theoretically, right? And the best part is that retargeting through display ads and discovery ads, etc., is not going to cost you unless somebody clicks on those ads, right? So they are again on click. So if somebody is not clicking, then they're not going to cost you anything, but it is like free branding for you, right? Even if somebody doesn't click on it, you are getting your brand value and your brand awareness being created out there in the world. And that's, I mean, there is no harm in getting that done. So before we move to the next section, David, would you like to add anything here?
Nope. I think it's pretty good. I think we covered a lot of information. I've learned a lot about information, especially Google searches or searching on the web. You know, I always see those ads. Whenever I go, I look at those ads and I tend to skip them or move down. And you're right. I mean, if I saw an ad for One Piece, I don't know what that is really. It could be, I may be thinking it's, the manga and I want to look at it. So I click on it and then all of a sudden I see it's for shirts or something else. And I just go back out immediately because it's not what I'm looking for. Then it may not be beneficial. Whereas you were mentioning the Facebook ads, display ads, discovery ads all have the wonderful pictures there and you get an idea. So maybe that's a lot better. So yeah, I think that's really, really good.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and Google has a separate category of ads, which is called Google Shopping ads, that you can actually set up. There is a process for that, though. You have to list your site and you have to put your products inside, and there is a review process involved, etc. So you can use that, obviously, and you should use that. But again, you need to be highly optimized and very specific for the keywords that you're targeting. Otherwise, you will end up losing a lot of money without getting the conversion that you can possibly get from other avenues at a fraction of the cost. Okay. So with that, let's move to the next section, which is best practices for starting and running a drop shipping business. So, David, would you like to take us through this?
Sure. So first thing I see is don't wait for perfection. Yeah, makes sense if you're trying to make everything, because nothing's ever truly 100% perfect. You can spend years trying to make things perfect. So don't wait for it to be perfect. Build your brand. So make sure your brand, how are you building it? What does it look like? All that. Ask for customer reviews. Oh yeah, definitely ask for customer reviews, because that's what people are going to look at, pretty much, on how everything is good. Do they like your product? Don't like your product? All right. So yeah, I would say that's good.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I mean, great point on. I mean, the first point, which is don't wait for perfection, right? So what do we mean by it? So the important thing is that you get your site up, your landing pages up, your funnel up, and you get the process running, right? If you spend 6 months building the perfect e-com store and then there are crickets, then you have put a lot of investment in and you're not getting anything out of that, right? So the important thing is that you get your processes up and running as quickly as possible, and then you keep perfecting, over time. So there is this saying that we have in Deskera that first do it, then do it better, right? So important thing is to get it done first, right? It may not be perfect, and that's okay, right? But if you have it out, then your users will tell you, your customers will tell you what they don't like, your data will tell you what can be improved, instead of you going with some with a gut feeling and then finding out after spending a lot of investment, time and effort and money, that hey, I mean, users still don't like it or customers are still getting confused, right? So what you really want to do is you want to be fast in execution and you want to push things through to get early feedback, to get data, and use that data to drive your efforts towards perfection, rather than trying to build what might seem perfect but actually may not turn out to be because the customers disagree, right? And yeah, obviously building your brand has its own advantages, and content marketing and uh, you know displaying your authority on those topics that are specific to your brand will help you get return customers. Repeat customers obviously are the best. um, Plus it will help you to upsell and cross sell with more ease, because they know that you are an authority, they associate your brand with that particular product or the topic or the item, correct? And yes, obviously customer reviews, and you don't want to leave your customers hanging. This is one of the mistakes that happen in dropshipping, because uh, if new dropshippers think that okay, it's the responsibility of the supplier to actually address the customer issue. It's not. It is your responsibility. The customer never actually sees who the supplier is at all. For them, you are the point of contact, you are the person, right? And if let's say there is a defective product, correct, or there is a product that they want to return, they are going to reach out to you. They are not going to reach out to the supplier. And at that point of time, if you direct them to the supplier instead of taking the ownership of the problem and fixing it yourself by contacting the supplier or whoever you want to do on behalf of the customer, chances are you will lose that customer. Absolutely no way that the person is going to come back to you, because they bought that item from you. They did not buy that item from the supplier. So why are you asking them to go to the supplier? Don't do that. That's a very common mistake early on, and it's understandable because you have 10,000 things to deal and handle and whatnot. But it's, in my book, it's a complete no-no, and I would strongly advise against that. All right. Then you want to offset your risk as much as possible with having multiple suppliers. Obviously, provided that there are multiple suppliers available for the kind of product or the niche that you are in. But it is good to have that competition. Why? Because you don't want to be fully dependent on only one supplier. All right. Because what if that supplier gets a super big order from somebody else? I mean, they're not obligated to fulfill your orders on time. They can just go ahead and fulfill other orders first and fulfill your order later. And what is that going to do is it's going to impact your brand, your standing in the market, in the eyes of the customer, and you don't want to do that. So you want to have your backup plans in place. uh, what you should also do is track supplier performance. So how do you track supplier performance? You look at the shipping times, you look at the number of returns that are happening, you look at customer complaints that come for packaging, you look at reviews, whether the packaging was good, whether it was bad, whether it was broken, etc., etc. And you assign points or categories to your vendors, and you classify them as ABC category of vendors, wherein your top vendors are there in A, and then B and C, and then you slowly want to wean out the C category vendors and replace them with the new ones. Then tracking of drop shipping orders and getting an accounting plus order tracking system. Now, David, why do you think that is important?
Because that's when you know that it's been fulfilled and that your accounting's also been updated on how much money you got. So if I have an accounting system, then I know what my profit is, am I making money, what my margins are. Order tracking system, I can track my orders, I can track my vendors, which are my suppliers. I can see, how many returns I've gotten there. So if I create a return in the system, I'm able to see how many returns based upon a return report. That way I know how the suppliers are performing. And I'm also able to track, which ones have been completed. That way, maybe I want to send out an email after it's been completed, like, thank you for your order. I hope you're enjoying the product well, and stuff like that. So that's all key things, because if you just don't leave it in the ether, or just not leave it up in the air, all of a sudden, you don't know what's going on. All of a sudden, you may see reviews where you said the lead time was 7 days and I got it 3 weeks later, or something like that. And you find out you're getting a lot of returns, but you're not knowing who's returning all the goods. It's maybe one supplier that's causing all your headache. And then if you get rid of him and use other suppliers, then you're a lot less painful.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you are planning for success, right? And success means getting a lot of orders, and if you are going to keep track of them manually or only through the e-commerce site, then it can be super messy, and it can be it will get painful real quick. And what you want to do is that you want to also make sure that you are on the right side of compliance and taxation, etc., because you don't want to be hit with a fine somewhere down the line for not following proper taxation, or not filing your returns or whatever. And to do all of that, and this is true for any business, I mean, irrespective of what stage you are in, you need to have order tracking plus accounting in your setup, in your tech stack, in your tool stack. Why? Because it helps you to automate a lot of stuff that you would otherwise have to do manually. Correct. And you don't want to be doing that. You don't want to spend your time uh, at the end of every month to compile the list of all the sales and purchases and returns and credit notes and coupons and vouchers, etc. No, you don't want to be spending time doing that. You want to be spending your time growing your business and expanding your market and solving your customers problems, or answering the questions, or shipping out orders to them, actually, instead of doing all the administrative work. And for that, you can just automate it, right? I mean, there are for example, if you are using Shopify and Deskera, right, or if you're using WooCommerce or Amazon or whatever, right, and you have connected it to Deskera, then whatever orders that are being created, payments that are being generated, products that are being sold, everything is synced back into Deskera. It is creating the invoices, it is creating the payments, it is doing your tax, all the tax details are getting populated, your financials are getting populated, your audit trail is being captured. You have a full track of how many orders you have received, which orders have been fulfilled, which orders have not been fulfilled, right? All of this is completely automated. You don't have to do anything at all, right? You just need to connect it once, and then that's it. It's all taken care of. And you have all those reports and real time visibility into how your finances are going. Are you making profit or not on a particular product? How is the cost of goods sold looking? Are there any other associated costs that are creeping in? Are your expenses going high? And all of this information can only be truly seen via your accounting system. So you need always need to have an accounting system in place, irrespective of whatever business that you're running, but more so for a drop shipping business. Why? Because you have to spend a lot of effort in uh, curating products, in building landing pages, in setting up your marketing engine. And you don't want to spend time doing this every month, because these are recurring activities. You cannot get rid of it, right? You have to do it. Otherwise, the government will come knocking on your door. So you don't want to, you obviously don't want that to happen, correct? So have everything in place, have everything automated, because anyways you have to do it. So might as well do it in a better way, in a run your business in a better way. All right. Now once you have these things, then you obviously want to add, I mean we uh, let's talk about product listing pages here, right? On the product listing pages, and this is something that we talked about in great detail in our session on e-commerce, which is available on the YouTube channel. So please go ahead and take a look if you haven't done so. But yes, add a lot of product photos, correct? Because the more information you provide on your landing pages about the product that you're selling, the more genuine and trustworthy it seems to be. Plus, there are 5 other tips that we had shared in our previous webinar on e-commerce landing pages. So go ahead and take a look if you haven't done so. Offering bulleted descriptions is another key thing that you should do. Don't give blocks of text. Make it small, short, scannable, easy to read, because that's what people are more interested in. They don't want to read an essay of what your product is doing. What they are interested in is are short sentences that tell them exactly why they should buy that product and how that product is going to solve the problem. So do not go into an essay. Keep it short, succinct, simple, right? Then if you have the option, then offer variants for a product. So if you are selling a t-shirt, then make sure that you have different sizes available: large, medium, XL, small, because not everybody is the same size, right? If you have a cap with the with that with one piece branding or whatever, right, then offer the base color in different colors, correct? You can have a red cap with the branding, black cap, blue cap, gray cap, whatever, right? But offer variants, because the more variants you have, the chances are that people are going to buy that item, because they will find something that suits their taste, their need, their requirement, correct? So add variants. And again, managing variants is really easy. All your e-commerce stores have the capability to handle variants. Either you can add it through a plugin or it is built in. And if you have a Deskera accounting system, then we also have the built-in capability to handle variants. So any variants that you create on your e-commerce store will just flow into Deskera, and then any variants that you have in your Deskera will be synced in real time. So your tracking of which products is doing better compared to the other, which variants are doing better, is very easily done. If you have Deskera, in your tech stack. Then once you have these in place, you should focus on building a community and being active on social media. Obviously this will help you to create a loyal followers everywhere, correct? And will allow you to get more repeat customers, because if you have your community in place, then you have a loyal fan following, which is helping you to evangelize the product, right? And that is what you really want to do, and for your dropshipping business eventually. So this is not something that you should do on day one, but once you have the other basics in place, then this is a practice that you must have. Start building a community, and there are multiple ways to do it. You can just create a Facebook group, you can create a Reddit forum, correct? You can set up your own community using Tribe or whatever, right? I mean, there are so many tools available. So just go ahead and do that once you have a following, and then start getting your people to join that community, that group, because that is where you can then at no cost, right? I mean, once you build your community, then effectively you are able to reach them at no cost, to give them better offers, more options, sweet deals, whatnot. And that is what will help you drive more sales, as well as helping your community buy the items that they already love at a discounted rate or a cheaper price, or getting some special service from you, which is something that they are looking for. So it's a win-win situation for everybody, both you and your customers. David, you want to add something to this?
Oh, I agree. Communities can be very, very strong. You can look at the different anime communities, manga communities. They're all very obsessive. Even in Reddit, there's tons and tons of different communities. Then they all surround over certain things. And they all talk about it like, oh, did you see this new item, maybe this new shirt or this new hat or this new... And they all communicate and start going after it. So it's important to build up these communities and know. And also be active on social media, see what people are talking about. People are active and people asking for. So you may find that you may be selling a variant of your product or this type of product, and other people on the social media may be asking, oh, I like your product, but I wish it came in this shade or that shade, or maybe had this type of design or that type of design. And that way you may be selling it, but maybe you can even get more sales, or even by adding just a slight variant in that, by paying attention.
Right. Thanks, David. So now that we have looked at the best practices, let's go ahead and take a look at mistakes that you want to avoid when you are setting up your drop shipping business, right? So number one mistake that people do when they are setting up drop shipping businesses, that you're storing credit card data somewhere. Never do that. Please never do that, right? Storing of credit card data means that you have access to financial information, and then you automatically have to ensure that you are compliant with all the regulations that are out there. And there are hundreds of regulations. There's PCI, DSS, infosec, and whatnot. And you will spend a lot of time just getting compliant with all of that. And obviously you are exposing your users to certain risks by storing credit card data with you. So while it may sound or seem convenient, it is never recommended. Instead, most e-commerce stores will have some kind of payment gateway associated. I mean, there's Stripe, there is PayPal, there is TransferWise, so many options, right? um, Razorpay, Paytm, right? I mean, you can connect your e-commerce store to them and let them handle it. They have already undergone all the certifications, etc., right? So your customers can be assured that, okay, my credit card data is not going to go into the wrong hands by mistake, and you also can sleep well at night. knowing that you don't have to worry about keeping track of all the regulations and compliances and whatnot, which really are not going to help you in any way, but it's just a headache that you will take up on you if you're storing credit card data. And this can happen because when you're setting up your cart or your shopping cart, there are typically options to include or store credit card data somewhere in the configuration panel. Again, it depends on which tool you use to set up your shopping cart, right? But make sure that you uncheck that. You don't want to be going into this on day one. All right. Then chargebacks. David, do you know what chargebacks are?
I think that's where you refute it, right? Where you're refuting a payment of some kind. Like if I buy something and they didn't come out to be what it should be, then I can dispute the charge and ask for my money back, something like that.
Yeah. So exactly. So a chargeback is that, okay, so I go to your website, I buy something, but then I send the dispute to my credit card company saying that, hey, I did not buy this, right? And I want my money back. That's a chargeback, correct? And these chargebacks, anytime there's a chargeback, your payment gateway or provider or whoever will send you a notification saying that, hey, there's a chargeback on your card, on a payment that was made on so and so date, etc. And you have only a few days to respond, and you have to respond back with the proof of purchase that, okay, this purchase actually happened, this person went ahead and bought this item, or handle the dispute the way that you would want to do, right? You may in some cases choose not to contest the chargeback just for goodwill, for example, right? But again, I mean, you have to keep track of this, and wherever needed you would want to dispute that, because if there are too many chargebacks happening on your account, then you may get blacklisted by that particular payment gateway provider or whatever, right? So you don't want that to happen, and you want to be able to dispute that chargeback with the necessary documentation and proof. And that is again where your accounting system and your e-commerce integration will come into play, because you will have proof that, okay, on this date this order was placed, this was recorded in my accounting, this was the invoice generated, this was the time at which the invoice was sent, and so on. This is when the transaction happened. So having an audit trail, having that accounting system in place is going to help you with disputing chargebacks, in the long run. Then because we are in a hurry and there are so many things to do for setting up the website and the e-commerce and taking those product photos and getting those nice videos done and whatnot, that we may end up not specifying a written policy at all, or we may specify a written policy that is not sufficient, correct? And that is one of the most common mistakes that new dropshippers end up making, and they tend to learn about it only after something has gone wrong, and you don't want to be in that, right? It's a mistake that you can and you should avoid, correct? So make sure that you have a return policy in place in the first thing, right? Your website, if it is not, I mean, your website, your product listing, everywhere, the return policy should be clear. When they are checking out, the return policy should be clear. Because if you're not setting that expectation right with the customer, then in any dispute, you are, number one, you're going to lose because you did not specify a return policy, right? Number two, your customers are going to be unhappy when they actually have to do a return, because when you did not have a return policy, their expectations were not set at all, right? And if you don't have those expectations in place, then you obviously cannot manage it for your customers, right? I mean, it's as simple as that. So make sure you have a written policy. Now, one mistake that people do in defining a written policy is that you end up creating a tighter written policy than the supplier. What does that mean? Let's say that your supplier has a written policy of 45 days, but you have mentioned in your written policy that you will do the return or process the return within 30 days, let's say. Then what is going to happen? The customer is going to return the product. Now, this product return notification will come to you as well as to the supplier, right? The product will go back to the supplier based on the RMA coding, right? But you have to process the refund and give it back to the customer in 30 days now, because that is your return policy. Whereas your supplier is obligated to give you the return in 45 days. What is that going to do? It's going to create a cash flow problem for you, because you will be running negative in cash for a period of 15 days. And if this keeps happening, I mean, there will be some percentages of returns. That's inevitable. You cannot avoid it, right? And as this starts accumulating, you will face cash crunch in no time. And therefore, you don't want to have a tighter return policy than the supplier. If your supplier is doing 45 days, you should aim for 60 days. Don't aim for 30 days just because everybody else is doing it, because you have to keep your unit economics in place. You have to have your I mean, you have to look at your boundary conditions, the constraints that are around your business, your product, your set of customers, right? And decide your return policy based on that, not on what everybody else is doing. Then obviously another mistake is not using an accounting and order tracking system. Because of that, you will end up spending a lot of time inefficiently, being not as productive as you ought to be, or not spending time on growing your business, on trying out different conversion ideas, on doing A/B testing, on running a new email campaign, right? Any minute that you are not spending in growing your business, in selling your products, is a minute wasted. And you don't want to be doing that, which is why you want to minimize the effort that you have for all the accounting tasks and tracking tasks as much as possible. And Deskera is going to help you with that. Then yeah, the next item is not negotiating the return policy with the supplier. And this is again a common mistake, especially for new dropshippers, because um there are these suppliers that have been around for, years now, correct? And you are a new guy on the market, so you feel that, okay, I mean, they're not going to listen to me, and you don't try to negotiate, or don't go or don't negotiate hard enough, because you feel of because of the difference in the number of years that they have been operating versus what you have been doing, right? And that's a mistake that you should not ever do, right? Always negotiate for the best possible return policies, return options. Negotiate for no restocking fees. What is restocking fee? Restocking fee is that if there is a return of the product, right, then the supplier will charge you some money to get it back into their warehouse. It's an actual term that exists in supplier contracts. And try to negotiate not to have it, or I mean, go with suppliers who don't have restocking fees as much as possible, right? Because hey, I mean, it's a defective product, your customer is returning it, why do you have to pay for it, correct? But it is a term there, and you thought, okay, these guys have been around for so long, they know what they're doing. But and you did not negotiate on restocking fees, and before you know it, you have to pay it out of your pocket, because hey, you cannot charge your customer for it. Your customer is going to be super unhappy if they have to return a product and have to pay you fees, right? So there is no way that you are going to charge your customer for it, and you are paying, out of your pocket. Your margin is being impacted. So the whole reason why you started drop shipping in the first place is kind of getting impacted, right? And you don't want that to happen. So read your read your contract properly. Look at all the options. Look at the return policies defined by the supplier. Negotiate hard. Do not give up on that. Don't let it be a an afterthought. And then obviously don't charge return fees to your customers, right? I mean, that's pretty obvious, right? I mean, don't charge return fees. There is so much competition out there. If you're charging return fees, chances are your customer is not going to come back to you, and that is not what you want to happen, right? In fact, most customers today, more than 70% of customers who are surveyed who buy online, mention that if they see a return fee as part of the return policy, they don't even go ahead and buy the item in the first place. And obviously, you don't want to be in that position. David, would you want to add something to this?
Oh, I was just thinking, yep, the suppliers actually really do know what they're doing, which is best for them. A restocking fee for a returned product to make money off of I guess would really benefit the supplier in that case. So, and they've been around for a long time, so they know this is beneficial. So it's something that, yeah, you would have to negotiate and really understand. I mean, that makes sense. I'm just curious. So for the chargebacks that they dispute a charge on it, and they get it, you get the product back at all, or they're saying that they never received the product, or is it something they received but it's not the product they wanted? Is there any return policy for that reason at all, or anything like that? I was just curious.
So chargebacks are typically disputed, saying that they never made the charge. I mean, that's the most common reason for chargeback disputes. That the information was taken from me, or my credit card information was taken from me without my knowledge. So that's why you need to have your audit trail and your proofs in place. Because if you don't, then I mean, if there is no proof with you, then that person is always going to get the benefit of doubt. So you need to have your proofs and disputes. But yeah, I mean, that's the most common cause of chargebacks.
So it's your word versus theirs, pretty much.
Unless you have proof, yeah.
Yeah. So good to have an online system or a accounting
Absolutely,
system.
yes. Absolutely. Have your entire audit trail in there, because if you don't, you have absolutely no way of fighting back. Okay, so let's move to the next item now, which is looking at the different shipping options. And if you are drop shipping or you are doing any kind of shipping, right, then you ought to know about ePacket shipping method and make sure that you are using ePacket delivery wherever possible. Why is that? ePacket was developed primarily by sellers or by suppliers in Hong Kong and later in China to give people the ability to ship lighter packages, smaller items at a cost-effective rate and with fast delivery, right? And this has become one of the most popular shipping methods for dropshippers across the world. And there are options to use ePacket delivery method irrespective of whichever carrier you're using. So you can use ePacket with Chinapost, with UPS, USPS, DHL, Fedex, AliExpress, everything, right? So this is a method that has been adopted by over 44 countries. There are shippers and carriers in 44 countries that use the ePacket method, and they have standardized the entire process. So there are defined sizes that that you have to stick to. I mean, have you ever wondered, though, that sometimes you order a pen and it comes in a package this size? Why? Because that is like the minimum size of an e-packet that you can create and generate. To have a different packet created will actually lead to non-standardization, which will actually end up costing more for the supplier, for the shipper, and for everybody else. So having standardization like an e-packet method is the way to go, and you should try to use it as much as possible. Provided obviously you're shipping to a country and from a country that does use e-packet. But the major, I mean, with 44 countries and all of these countries being your, I mean, chances are that your audience is in one of these 44 countries. And even if they are not, then you can just use direct shipping, etc. But it won't be as fast or as cost effective as ePacket. So definitely, I mean, if you have not been using ePacket, go ahead, use it for your drop shipping, and you will see the benefits. The most obvious benefit is that one, it is super fast for small items and for small orders, right? So typically, I mean, if you are not using ePacket and you're just sending any order through standard post or standard shipping options, then to go from China to the US, it can take anywhere 3 to 4 weeks. But with ePacket shipping, you can get it done in 10 to 15 days. I mean, that's the kind of difference that you are actually getting in terms of shipping times. And remember this, I mean, if you are not using ePackets and your competitor is, then chances are that your customer is going to order from the competitor, not from you, because nobody wants to wait for products. And let's move to the next topic with that, which is the strategic advantage for wholesalers to use drop shipping. David, now we have been I mean, we have spoken to a lot of wholesalers in the past, right? And you have done that as well. So what is your thought process? I mean, how do you think wholesalers can use drop shipping to their advantage?
I'm just thinking, one of the problems is that you have slow and not moving products that can get stuck there. And if you have a warehouse, anything in your warehouse is a cost, because you have to rent out the warehouse, you have to have people move it, you have to move it around to other locations, you have electricity, water, and power, and all that. And you're buying a large amount of products there, and then you're shipping it off to other companies. So with Dropship, it's more real time. When the company comes and places an order with you, you can immediately talk to the vendor. Vendor can send it off directly. It doesn't occupy more stuff in your warehouse, which can be beneficial. You can try out new products with less risk. So, for example, if I'm a wholesaler and I want to start buying a new product, that new product may go in my warehouse and then it's stuck in my warehouse. And if it's not successful, it may be there forever, or I may have to scrap it or something like that. So, but with Dropship, I can put out the new product there, and if a company wants to come and buy it from me, then I can put the vendor and go through. I'm not having any risk with the stock being stuck in there for eternity. There's just some things that come to mind.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, those are all good points, right? I mean, so as we discussed in the inventory masterclass that we had earlier, right? Inventory costs, especially holding costs, are a major contributor of your expenses, and they tend to bring your profit down. I mean, and if you have these slow or non-moving products, or products that don't sell as fast, uh, and you can measure that using your day to sales number or your inventory turnover ratio, then what you really want to do is, you don't want them taking up a lot of space in your warehouse, and you can cut them down to a safety stock, so that if there is any immediate or urgent requirement, then you can meet it. But otherwise, you can use drop shipping as a strategy for uh, not actually stocking those goods, but still taking a slight hit on the margin that you might get, but having them drop ship directly from the supplier or the manufacturer to whoever needs that product, instead of having that particular item take up lots of valuable space on your in your inventory, in your warehouse. So that is what you should be looking at. If you are a wholesaler, use drop shipping as a strategy, instead of, I mean, you don't have to go all in, you don't have to discard your entire wholesale business just to get into drop shipping. I mean, if you want to do that, you can do that. But hey, I mean, there are still pros and cons, for drop shipping and wholesale and whatnot, and we'll talk about that later. But yeah, I mean, what you should really do is use dropshipping as a strategy to slowly wean out or clean your warehouse of items that don't sell as fast, or that are not being sold at all, but you want to keep them for a for some safety measure, or for whatever other reason, right? I mean, there are multiple reasons that you want to keep some stock with you. But or you may get occasional seasonal demands for those items, but they are sitting in your warehouse for the entire year. So hey, I mean, you are losing money on that, you're bleeding money on that, and you should avoid that by adopting drop shipping for specific items in your product portfolio. Then dropshipping is also really good to test new products and new suppliers, right? Because with dropshipping you can do small orders, correct? And you can see what is the response from your customers for these new products that you want to ship to them, correct? And you can also, for small order values, check how reliable the supplier is, and that can help you test the waters for deciding to branch out to include a new supplier in your supplier portfolio, or to include a new product in your product portfolio. So go ahead. If you are in wholesale trading, you should and you should use uh, drop shipping as a strategy to cut down on your inventory costs as much as possible. So, David, could you explain the financial accounting impact of drop shipping? How is it different from actual, I mean, from the financial accounting process when you are actually using inventory?
Well, the biggest one is that you don't have inventory. So because you're buying from the customer and then you're placing the order to the vendor then sends it directly to the customer, you don't actually have any inventory in your balance sheet. You won't see that there. You're selling it directly, so it never comes in. So that value is completely gone. Let's see. And then, of course, you don't have any FIFO, LIFO methods because you have no inventory at all. Your product variants are there and everything, but again, you're selling directly. Um, yeah, so purchase orders and supply. I mean, the process for everything else is pretty much the same. It's just that you don't have inventory. I mean, if I do customer places an order with me, it's great. I get the order. Then I'll do the dropship method. So the fulfillment process just changed from the vendor sending it to the customer. Still, a bill will be created, a bill, and the journal entry is posted for that. But the inventory coming and going is what will change. And the inventory or the holding of my asset, my current asset, will also be gone because it's not there for that inventory.
Absolutely. So typically, inventory goes and sits in your balance sheet under assets or current assets, right? But in if you're pure drop shipping, then the inventory never actually ends up coming to your warehouse. It's never with you at all. So it never goes into your assets, and your accounting changes because of that, right? And that is where your accounting system plays an important role. So if you have an accounting system that already knows this and does this automatically for you when you are doing drop shipping, then you save further time in moving that inventory out from what you would get in a regular accounting system, correct? So for example, right, if you're using an accounting system that does not have drop shipping support, then every time you create an invoice, then your inventory assets will be impacted. But if you have Deskera, for example, then if you are using drop shipping as the method, your inventory assets are not at all impacted. You don't have to do any manual adjustments after you create your invoice to update your inventory assets, because you don't have those inventory assets at all. So it should not be on your balance sheet. And if they're going on your balance sheet, you have to do manual adjustment in some accounting systems, which you don't have to do in Deskera. So you're further saving time in fixing things that you shouldn't have to fix in the first place. All right. Otherwise, all the accounting entries for invoicing, for purchase, payments, credit notes, etc., they are the same. But yes, there should be no inventory asset being updated anytime when you are doing drop shipping, and Deskera helps you do that. So with that, we come to the end of this session. But before we end this, I have a final question for you, David. So with so many benefits and advantages of drop shipping, is traditional wholesale or traditional e-commerce worth the effort? Or I mean, why would anybody do that at all?
Well, one of the things I think of is bulk purchases. So, for example, if I buy a large amount of quantity of the product, I can negotiate a cheaper price. And if I can have a cheaper price, then maybe I can sell it out at a different margin. But again, it depends on how cheap you can get it. Is it actually more expensive to have the warehouse, the employees? Does that margin actually affect it at all? Also, I have more control over my lead time because I have the physical product there, I'm sending it out. But again, how much benefit is that based upon, for example, a supplier, a reliable supplier that sends out the goods on time? So you have to weigh and determine the items, especially what type of items you're selling. But yeah, drop ship process sounds really cool. I mean, in the fact that no inventory, no headache, so long as I have a proper accounting system that does drop ship. And if it does it well and it does it correctly, then it's perfect. But of course, if the system does not do correctly, as you mentioned, I have inventory in there. I have to remember to receive my vendor's goods. I have to remember to deliver, then it can cause chaos. And then eventually your wonderful auditor's coming. On your books, it says it has inventory, but where is your inventory? No, I follow a dropship process. And then you have to try to explain everything over again. So yeah, I think, unless you're doing large bulk purchases for, at a really, really great discount where you can justify the margins of having a warehouse and anything, then I would say use Dropship. But again, that's just me.
Yeah. So absolutely. I mean, the traditional methods are not dead. What we have to do is we have to find the right combination, and this is all going to be data driven, right? I mean, so if you do your FSN analysis or your ABC analysis, and then you find products, for example, that are slow moving but have got high margins or whatever, then you may want to switch to drop shipping method for them, correct? Or if there are products that are not very high volume, because you have to justify the expense of keeping them in your warehouse, managing that, day in day out, counting them, keeping updating, updating, shipping, packing, logistics, etc. So many things, right? So I mean, yeah, you have to use your data to kind of make the decision as to which is better for you, whether it is good to have that in your warehouse versus using a simple drop shipping option, correct? I mean, both have their own advantages. The biggest advantage that I mean, not the biggest advantage, but the key one big advantage that traditional methods still have is the uh, 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 lessening of reliance on the supplier, uh, right? So you are not completely dependent on your supplier because you are maintaining a safety stock. To know what a safety stock is and how to calculate it, we have, I mean, kind of covered that in detail in our previous webinar on inventory masterclass. So go ahead and take a look. But if you have your safety stock, correct, in place, then you can uh, address fluctuations in demands a lot faster uh, compared to a dropship uh, uh, business, because they have to rely on how well their supplier is stocked and how quickly the supplier can respond to the changes, right? So yeah, I mean, there are differences in the two, and you have to make an informed decision on, what parts of your business or which parts of your product portfolio you can switch to drop shipping for, or if you want to completely move to a drop shipping, or you just want to start a new online business, for drop shipping items, and just see how that works out. So you can definitely go ahead and do that. And we have a few questions, so let's go through the questions here. uh, Yes, it is possible. So Lazada is owned by Alibaba, I mean, ultimately. So you can get integrations to AliExpress through Lazada. It's not as straightforward as you would want it to be, but yes, it is possible. So yes, you can do drop shipping on Lazada and Shopee. You can theoretically you can do drop shipping on any platform. I mean, there is nothing that stops you from doing that, right? It is just that you want to do the math on what uh, revenue is going to be taken by the platform versus the margin that you are going to make, and use that to decide whether you want to do drop shipping on that platform or not. And I mean, yeah, you can obviously host your e-commerce site on Deskera, for example, and uh, there you don't have to pay Deskera anything of the top of the revenue for hosting your e-commerce site. You can just go ahead, set it up, start selling right away. So how to make a landing page? We can actually have an entire, 2-hour masterclass on that, if you ask me. But I mean, a few things that you can start off right away is, and especially if you have Deskera, right? We have a website builder. There are templates there. There are templates designed for specific options, right? So you can create a high converting landing page using Deskera in a matter of minutes. Just select a template, right? Those templates are based on the research that we have done in the market for, what converts and what does not, and then we have put them in easy to use templates that you can go ahead and implement, in one click. And yeah, I mean, David is showing us how to use it. I mean, it's pretty easy to use. So if you have a Deskera account, just go ahead, use the website builder, create a landing page, and you are up and running in no minute, but in no time. But yes, of course, we will do a more detailed webinar down the line on how to make landing pages that convert, and how to build sales funnels as well. So can we do drop shipping for food and agricultural products? So this is going to be part of your product research, right? I mean, so you have identified a category here, which is food and agriculture. Now you want to align that with whether there are any shipping restrictions on that. So that's one of the points that we had mentioned, that is it possible to ship, or the location is important. Where are you shipping it? Which country you're shipping it to? And are there any shipping restrictions on those? Food and agricultural products, if you're shipping outside the country, there may be some restrictions there, right? It's similar to, like, shipping tobacco to US, or shipping alcohol to Malaysia. You cannot do that. It's not allowed. Correct. So even if you so yeah, I mean, you have to do your research. This is a very product specific question, right? And it's going to depend on which location you are shipping from, which location you are shipping to, and what you are actually shipping. There may be some items that you can do, which are non-perishable items, etc. But ideally, what you would want to do is, you would want to go for high margin items in food and agriculture, right? Now, if I mean, I don't know what are the kind of margins that you're looking at, but I mean, so that's something that you will have to decide on yourself. But in terms of whether you can do it or not, I wouldn't put it in the top categories that we have seen for drop shipping. But maybe that's because nobody has tried, or maybe it is because there are not good enough margins that you can get easily from some other category of product as well. So yeah, I mean, it's a generic question which we can. I mean, you will have to look at the various factors involved and the boundary conditions to determine the right answer for that. But this is how you would go about finding out whether you should do it or not. Okay, awesome. So yeah, that brings us to an end. And thank you, David, for co-hosting the webinar with me. Please don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have more great content coming up on landing pages, building sales funnel, building awesome Google ads, and all of these are going to be master classes that will go into detail about the specifics and how you can, just do it from your laptop or your PC or your phone, right? So go ahead, like and subscribe so you don't miss an update. And thank you so much for watching. Go ahead and try Deskera out to build a website page or a landing page or an e-commerce store. Just go ahead and try it out and see how easily you can set up your e-commerce store in a matter of minutes and start drop shipping right away. I mean, you don't have to wait for too long, right? I mean, remember one of the points that we talked about: don't wait for perfection. So yeah, just go ahead, do it, try it, and you will know whether it's going to work for you or not at minimal cost, right? So with that, thank you for the day. Have a good time.
Take care. See ya. Have a wonderful evening.